So yesterday we left off with the idea that there are three things that Klal Yisrael must be masak and we have to fix up during this time of the year, especially as we are trying to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. We have to really rebuild ourselves. And those three things are what the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos: Torah, Avodah, our Tefillah, our davening, and Gemilas Chasadim, acts of kindness. So he begins going one by one to explain to us how we can improve in these areas. Torah, he writes, Bekamus Hazman, the amount of time that one spends learning, Ube'echus ha'iyun, and the echus, the quality of the engagement that one has in their learning. V'niftach be'esek ha'torah shu ha'davar harishon. We'll start, he says, with Torah, which is the first thing is listed in the Mishnah. Ma nikra esek ha'torah b'shleimus. What is considered to be learning Torah b'shleimus properly? Hine limud ha'torah me'advarim she'en lam shir. Limud ha'torah, learning Torah, we know it's something that has no shir. There's no limit how much Torah a person can learn. Like it says in the Mishnah in Peah. V'hainu she'en shir lekamus hazman. There's no limit on how long you could learn Torah every day. Okay, there's 24 hours in a day. That's maybe the limit that a person would come to, but the amount of time that you could spend in that 24-hour period of time is really limitless. V'gam ein shir le'echos halimud. Also, there's no shir, there's no limit, and there's no definition of the echos, of the quality of the learning that you can do as well. And he's going to explain. And he writes that he heard from Rav Dessler, who said in the name of Rav Chaim Mibrisk the following. The Chazal tell us in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Ki devar Hashem baze, the word of Hashem has been embarrassed. Kol shef shelasek v'torah ve'eino osek. That means anyone who could learn Torah and they don't learn Torah, so shezeh nemar lo yirak al mish. That's the person who's embarrassing the word of Hashem. You could learn and you don't learn. What a disgrace to the word of Hashem, to Hashem's Torah. But shezeh nemar lo yirak al mish yuchal lilmod ve'eino lo mikla. It's not talking about someone that could learn and doesn't learn at all. It's someone who does learn. Someone has the ability to focus more on the learning that they're doing. And they could understand deeper what it is that they're learning. And they don't work hard enough with all of their might to be able to focus and to understand the deeper depths of the Torah. Gam alav nemar ki devar Hashem baza. He also embarrasses the word of Hashem, shumavato Torah be'echus, because he nullifies the echus, the quality of the Torah. So the simple pshat in the Gemara is that if you could learn and you don't learn, so you're disgracing Hashem's Torah. Why aren't you learning? You're busy doing something else. But the other pshat is that even if we are learning, there's always so much better that we could do, and that also, if we don't put in the energy that we could, it is a bizayon, it's a disgrace to Hashem's Torah. V'chein bekamus hazman, so too in the amount of time that someone spends learning. L'natzel kol regel Torah, try to rescue every moment that a person has for the sake of Torah. So now he goes and he's a member of Gershon Edelstein was Rosh Yeshiva Ponovich. So he's speaking to the Bachrim in the yeshiva. He says, "B'yeshiva yeshes hashos kavuay shel sidrei yeshiva." There's first, second, and third seder. Let's say it comes out to be 12 hours of learning that the yeshiva demands from a boy in yeshiva. V'yesh gam b'zmanim nosafim bein hastarim. But there's also between the starim, there's lunch, there's breakfast, there's doing your laundry, all different things that a person. There's other time during the day. You're eating, you have to take a shower, use the restroom, so on, exercise, so on and so forth. Even those times that you need for other stuff in your life, try to rescue them for the sake of Torah. Each person according to his abilities. A person should try their best not to take their mind off of Torah. Now this is difficult for us because it's hard for us to get our mind onto Torah, and it's hard to take our mind off of everything else. But if we would have the schus that we were sitting and learning in yeshiva, if to be learning in kollel, we have the schus to be sitting in a shir and learning in a shir, at least when you're coming to a shir, at least when you're listening to a Devar Torah, at least when you're there, try to stay focused in and not to take your mind off the Torah that is there. And he writes the following. The Yedua Hamagid Hizr the Beis Yosef. The Beis Yosef once had a Magid, an angel came and exhorted him and gave him musa, and he told him, Shagam b'shas ha'achila lo yasiach daitem v'div Torah. Even when you're eating, try not to take your mind off of Torah. It's hard when you're eating a 42-ounce steak not to take your mind off of Torah. It's very hard when the barbecue is grilling in the background and the wine is pouring on the table and the dessert is over there and everything is delicious. It's very hard to keep your mind on the Torah. But if we'd eat, I guess, bread and water, like it says in the Mishnah, and we'd keep our life a little bit more simple, then it would be easier to focus in on the Torah that we're learning. So Rav Gershon says, I know people in our time, Yechidim, individuals, they never take their mind off of Torah. I think he probably humbly was talking about himself when he said this line as well, but he knows people that didn't take their mind off of Torah. Rav Elchanan Wasserman, so every day he would go home for lunch, and his wife always had a bowl of soup that was ready for him, and he would always be learning while he ate the soup. And when he finished the soup, he would always go to his wife and he would say, "Thank you, the soup is delicious." Then he would go back to yeshiva. One day he comes home, he takes the bowl of soup, he's busy learning while he's eating the soup. He finishes and he goes to his wife and he says, "Thank you, the soup was delicious." She said, "Soup? I didn't have time to make soup today. I didn't make any soup." He says, "What do you mean? I took the bowl from the counter over here." She says, "Oi," she says, "that was the bowl of the dirty water that I'm using to wash the counters and everything. You ate that?" And it came out from that ma'aser, from that story, that he was so absorbed in his learning every single day when he was eating lunch. It didn't matter whether it was noodle soup or chicken soup or mushroom barley soup or it was a bowl of dirty water. It didn't matter. Rabbi Chanan's mind, he didn't take his mind off the Torah. Now, even when a person is going to sleep, even when you're going to bed, try to keep your mind on the Torah. However, when you are sleeping, of course, when you're sleeping, you can't be thinking in learning. But if you go to sleep, l'shem shemayim, for the sake of heaven, even your sleeping is considered to be serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like the Rambam writes in Chazdeo, she'adam she'yishan l'shem shemayim, someone who sleeps for the sake of heaven, I'm sleeping, so I should have koyach to be able to serve Hashem. Even the sleep is a part of his avodas Hashem. And he's called a sleeping Jew that's serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu even while he's sleeping. You need to sleep. How can you wake up in the morning and daven? How can you learn? How can you do chesed? How can you control your midos if you're a tired, grumpy old man? You can't. So you need a good night's sleep, and therefore the sleep itself is like a hechsher mitzvah, it's like a preparation, so to speak, for the mitzvah to be able to serve Hashem the next day. When you wake up in the morning, immediately, if you want, you can start thinking about Torah once again. And he concludes, and that's the way it should be the 24 hours of the day. And this should speak to us. He's talking to the boys in yeshiva, which really they have nothing else going on except being in yeshiva and learning. But what about all of us that are outside the walls of yeshiva, that we have many other deterrents and things that are distracting us from our learning? Yesh harbe zmanim, there are many times throughout the day that a person could rescue some of that time for Torah. When you're going on the way. What about when a person sits around and they shmooze and they speak dvar b'telim, foolish words? A person could be thinking about words of Torah, they could be speaking words of Torah. even that, he says, is saving the time from wasting it and using it for the right things. What if you have nothing to think about? You know, you ever look at a person, they look like they're somewhere lost in outer space, and you say, what are you thinking about? Nothing. Says Rav Gershon Edelstein, he has nothing to think about. He's on planet Mars over there. The reason he has nothing to think about, because he didn't prepare his mind in advance to think about Divrei Torah. You should really prepare yourself in the beginning of the day. I think, what are you going to think about when you're going on the derech, while you're on the way? What about all the other time when you're waiting in line? What are you going to do when you're watching the Tik-Tok videos? You could be thinking about Torah while you're watching Tik-Tok. It's amazing. You're watching some dog clap his hands like this, but your mind is thinking about some sugi and bava kama, so then you get like the schars if you're learning. Well, Khalila, yeah. That means that a person really should put down the phone and not watch the dog who knows how to dance through a hula hoop on TikTok with all the other stuff that's going on, and be menatzil dizman. Let's save the time so that we can be learning better. And if a person acts in this way, he'll end up rescuing and using his time properly for the sake of the Torah. So everybody we all know ourselves, we all know the way that we spend our time, we all know how much time is on the couch like this, we all know how many phone calls we're making, we know how much is going like this, we know how much is the backseat, the armchair quarterback over there. It's amazing, you know. The basketball season ends, baseball starts just at the right time. Baseball will be over, then it's football, then suddenly everybody's at the rugby and soccer and all the different things, professional ping pong, whatever you name it. We can find so many things to waste and distract our time. And Be'ez Hashem will, if we care about the building of the Beis HaMikdash, we have to be menatz at least a minute a day, at least 1 minute a day a person could save and rescue for the sake of Torah.